Hello everyone, filming another video for the backlog of videos. Matt's R31 Skyline, so if you've watched the other video, you should have. I've not actually uploaded it yet, but there will be a video before this video. Otherwise this video won't make sense. Anyway, DR30 Skyline. Coupe. I think they call these a coupe. I assume so, it's just a two-door. This is obviously the fancy turbo version, so it's actually an R30. Which is basically the same chassis as an R31. Just a couple of minor things that are different, basically. Very cool car. Very little of these in the UK. And I'm lowering it. I've just put S13 coilovers on the rear, on the front. I've done a lot of other little bits and bobs to it. But the problem was when we had it on the floor outside, the subframe looked really low to the ground and the car didn't really look all that low. So we're just waiting for a few other products to, finish the look of this car. If you look here, this is the subframe off the front of here. Now this obviously supports the engine. This is where the engine mount goes and the subframe bolts onto the chassis here and here. So we want to raise this because when we raise the subframe, we'll obviously gain 25mm of clearance because we're raising this an inch. Gain 25 of clearance off the floor, and in turn it will also raise the engine an inch as well. So the engine goes up with the subframe, everything all goes up, we get clearance and we can lower the car a bit more and it looks better. And basically to raise this subframe here, we need to obviously clean it up first because it's dirty, covered in oil, etc, etc. And obviously you can probably figure it out here. The chassis has two studs that come down here and you can see that line here. That's where the chassis leg runs. Same on both sides. Basically what we need to do is we need to cut it along here, this edge, down here as well. And we basically need to move this bracket down here because that will then raise the middle part of the subframe up, but it will still bolt onto the chassis at the same place. And that is basically how we raised the subframe 25mm without modifying the car. So this is a bolt-on piece. This is the same as like an R30. So we can get these anywhere, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I need to make a sort of little jig so we can make sure it's straight when we're cutting it and we don't, raise it pissed. It's quite hard to get wrong. First point of action is to clean it up, get it into bare metal, and then I can start tracing it out, drawing it, and making a little jig for it. Right, so this bit, people can make it really complicated when realistically it doesn't have to be that complicated. So I've got my bench, it's not perfectly flat, but it is now. So first of all, this is why you should always have a steel bench, which you don't really care about because you can literally weld to it. So you just need to make sense, make sure things are straight this way and straight that way. So as you can see here, I've cleaned the subframe up, I've welded this stud to the bench, and then I've welded, obviously, the stud to the subframe as well. Welded it into that nice bit of grease. Now, you want some good tacks on here, so you don't want the subframe to move while you're working on it, sort of thing. So make sure that's decent. We've also got stud going through here, holding that in. So this is nut and bolted on underneath there, like that. So that's tight on there. And then what I've done is I've made a little pedal stool. So this is 25mm. So we've got one of those on each side, there and there. So that is a flat edge on that and that and that. So I've then welded the nut to the base plate and the base plate to the bench so that can't move from where it is. Obviously we've got the subframe leveled here. I wanted to use this bit here, but it's actually like a banana shape, so I can't really use that bit. So leveled there, and you want to make sure it's leveled this way as well. Get the spirit level on there. Make sure you've got a good level front to back. Obviously same both sides. And from there, what you basically have is a subframe which is leveled on the bench, and you can basically begin to cut. So the subframe here is not going to move. The only thing that is going to move is this bit when you cut it. So the subframe stay there, cut down here, and then from there you can either undo it here and, spin the nut down 25mm, or you can literally we can take this little pedestal out of the bottom for 25mm. I think I'm going to go for the old winding the studs down sort of thing. Basically, I'll undo that top nut, top nut on that side, measure how much thread is there, and then obviously wind the nut down 25 mil, put the top bit back on, that slides down, put the nut back on, and then you should be able to measure for perfect accuracy. Obviously you'll have this edge will stay here, and then this side will be down here. So you'll be able to get a ruler like there and there, just to double check your measurements once again, because you want to make sure it's not this way. So you'll be able to get a ruler there and there. And yeah, it just keeps things straightforward and fairly easy to do. When I do this, I'm gonna cut this down here, and then we're gonna try and join it back into here. I like to make it look factory and not like a massive right angle piece, which looks like aftermarket. I like to try and make it look like it's the real deal. So yeah, my plan, cut it just about here. You can see there's like a line here, a faint line here, where the subframe went up against the chassis rail. From experience, you want to go like 10 mil over from that. So just before this engine mount starts going up is where I'm going to cut. So down there. Same again for this side. You can see the ever so slight faint line where the chassis rail was. 10 mil over, cut there. Job's a good one. You can use these two studs either side, but I don't have any M14 stud. I only have M16 stud, so that's why I've used the middle hole. It would be easier to level out if you had those ones on the end there, because you could obviously wind up the back one if it was tilting this way, and you can just straighten out like that. It's just a little bit of extra measuring we need to do, and it's not really the end of the world. So I'm doing it like this, but you're more than welcome to do it with two studs, which will be easier. But you know, M14 stud, I have no use for it, and I have loads of excess because M16 stud is what you use to put ramps in. So that's why I've got a load of it, so I'm gonna use that. Anyway, I'm gonna cut it, mark it out, bosh. I'm gonna recommend you don't use a grinder like I just did there, but we can see here that this is loose. Now I'm gonna basically take this top bit off, so I want to make sure that the bottom nut doesn't spin, so it doesn't move. So get the old spanner out and just undo that top nut. You've got to be very careful of this, the way I'm doing it anyway. Make sure that bottom nut doesn't spin. Right, now, I should have put more welds on this before I did this, but it's fine. Just have a little measurement here. Right, okay, so we've got 35 mil of excess thread there. We want to take it to 60, and yeah, then we'll have raised the subframe 1 inch, and we can sort of weld it back in there. Make sure it doesn't move. You've got to be very careful at this point. Obviously you want to make sure your tacks are bang on and not moving like my stud is. I didn't weld this stud, so it's moving a bit, but it's not the end of the world. And then ta-da! Alright, so it doesn't line up properly, which is why I am going to trim this edge here. I'm going to cut along this line here, and basically by doing that I'm going to bring this lip down, and that's going to join into here, and then there'll be a little triangle hole, and I'll make a plate for in there, and it'll look like it's one continuous radius. That makes sense? I think it makes sense. But I'm going to clean up all these edges now before I weld it on there, and then I can obviously weld to it properly. You see that? Oh my god. The grinder just caught that and it pop down on its own, that might be the perfect angle. We need that strip. Put that back on now. Ah, nearly, very nearly. Yeah, you can see what I mean now. If I, bloody hell. Right, now we've got that back on there. Get this sort of lined up. It's never going to match up perfectly just because of the way that all the contours and stuff are. As long as you got this bit flat and straight, you're golden. Don't worry about it. There you go. Make sure that's nice and straight. It will play with your eyes because that taper goes like this. You go down and then it looks like it's pulled this way because just because of the way the shape of the subframe is, but it physically can't go that way, so you know we're good. We're good on that one. Get some tacks on it, and then double check the thing. Once you tack it, you want to check it again, because it will try and move just because of the heat, and it has just tried to tilt it back a bit. So if I give it a bit of a tweak with the old hand there, get it back straight. We're straight again. There you go. There you go. Done. Bang it back on the car. Now, obviously, we have a gap here. We need to fill that gap there. So basically what I'll do is I'll put a plate from behind, and then obviously we need to fill this gap here, all this sort of stuff. I'm going to basically crack on with this and I'll just show you the finished result. Just thought I'd show you how I do it. I'll do this one and then I'll do that one. You know what I mean? Cool. As you can see now, that radius sort of follows. So it will, once that little triangle's filled in and I've ground it back a bit, it will look pretty factory fresh. And then yeah, from like this angle, you probably wouldn't even be able to tell. But I'm going to carry on with that and I'll show you the end result. A bit of CAD, cardboard aided design. Turn that into metal. Little sliver in there. Give it some hot glue on there. Nearly OEM. Obviously I had to weld down this edge here, so I just had to taper that weld. And then once it's all said and done, like I said, I'll weld the back side of it, and then that will look better in factory and stuff. So when it's painted black and it's underneath the car, someone who is a purist might go, oh, it's lovely under here, subframe's nice and clean, and they won't even notice that it's raised because it looks like that. Purists will never know. There you go. Get that plate on there. I'm going to basically weld into that valley, and then I'll grind it off smooth all the way around, and then I'll weld it on the inside as well. The reason I said make sure you cut like at least 10 mil away from like where the chassis wear will sit is because that plate goes on top of there. That's 5 mil as it is, and then you've got like another 5 mil gap to go in there. You just want to make sure you don't weld it all up, go to the car and it's like in line with this plate, because yeah, I've done that before. So you just got to make sure you cut in properly. OEM! Look, that's nicely done. That's how it should be. I see people do like massive right angles on it, and in my opinion this looks better. I know I could go the extra mile and bring that into there, but I'm not going to bother. But I just think this is such a nicer way to do it. It doesn't look like half-assed. It looks really neat and tidy and OEM as you can do when you're raising a subframe. Obviously we could have gone further and we could have raised it more, but obviously our control arm comes here. Well, it was going to go there, so it's going to be really close to this edge now anyway. We might put some roll center adjusters to try and take that away from there. I don't know if it's going to be close enough. I think we're going to order some anyway, but you just got to take that into consideration when you're doing this sort of thing. So yeah, Happy with that. That looks decent. Now I am gonna go and do the other side, get it painted, and get it on the car, because that car needs to be rolling very soon. You just see in that last clip I've taken the stud out. That is because I've obviously welded this strip along here, and it's welded down there and both sides, so it's not gonna move at that point. So I took it out just so I could get in there and clean it up and weld it fully. Yeah, just thought I'd clear that up before you comment on it. Finished up subframe. Reshaped all this, done that side. Obviously welded it from the inside. You can see it got nice and hot. That's good. Same again on this side. Obviously I reshaped this side, but you can't get a grinder in there, so I haven't managed to grind it out as much as I'd like. But same again, reshaped. Yeah, I just can't get my grinder in here, so that's all right. When it's black, you'll never see it, but yeah, that's how you finish that off. I'm gonna spray it black now and get it back on the car. Bit of primer. Right.
What's up, guys?
Oh, you can't even spit your words out, mate. You can't be a YouTuber. Anyway, subframe on, snug around the chassis rail. I got quite lucky with that one because it looked like it nearly didn't fit. But got lucky, sits in there nicely. Steering's on there. The steering is, stop smashing the mirror. Steering is above the subframe. Sump is above the subframe, but as you can see, the anti-roll bar is about 4 miles lower than the rest of it. So we are going to take this out of here for now. If we can get another roll bar another time, that would be great. But yeah, that is literally like hanging so far down. And if you hit that randomly on a drain, it's going to rip the car in half. What do you think?
Shagger.
Right.
Absolute shagger.
I'm going to take that off and get the wheels on and stuff like that. Yeah. Charlie does reels. Charlie does reels. Because hello guys, and here I am.
I'm not YouTube famous.
Fitting my track rods to my E36 today. It was just really fun.
I had 10,000 views on that.
Ooh! I'll teach you how to do it.
Please. I'm poor.
Anyway, I'm gonna put this all back together. Nice one. Right, well, car's like off the ramp, under its own weight, and yeah, I thought this might happen, but there is a problem with it. But I thought we might be able to get away with not doing it for now. I know they're on order, but for now, we can't get it as low as we want to. Rear, looking good. I reckon once the car's settled and driven on, the springs will soften up a little bit, and that will bring it just down that extra touch, which will make this bob on. The front, however, that's no good. There is a big gap on the front, and to be honest, I sort of knew it was going to happen, but you never know, it might have been able to get away with it. Where the lower control arm is now sat like this, and we've raised the subframe, it's like this, so the arm is touching the subframe. So really inboard. It's quite common. You have to get roll center adjusters. I'll see if I can put a picture up here now. And basically that brings the arm back down to a normal level. I've got the same on my Toyota over there, and I thought maybe we'll be able to get away with it on there. I know we've ordered some, but for now I wanted to just see if it would, still sit on the floor. But yeah, we need that because it is touching. Yeah, also, the new engine raise and subframe raise has put the inlet manifold into the strut brace, so that has to come off, annoyingly. When we get the camber plates, that will sort out the camber, and that will bring it in, and it will look good. But I think it looks good as it is. With that touch down on the front, a bit more camber, that gap will close up, and we'll be golden. And when it gets 14s on it, I think the tyre will just be a little taller than what we got here. And that'll easily fill that gap up a bit more as well. So, yeah. Does look good though. Can't lie, even on the rotors it looks good. This is gonna look so good on the road. Nice. Gonna finish a few little bits on here, and then tomorrow morning when it's daylight, I'll get it outside and, well, get a good look at it. I know it's not gonna be as low as we want to, but it gives us a good idea. And we'll be able to see how much clearance we have under the subframe and chassis rails and stuff now. The subframe is pretty much in line with the chassis rails, so it's pretty flush all the way along now. So it's a yes from me. This will show you, look, that there, oh, what is that? Oh, that's a rubber bush. That's a rubber bush. That is off the anti-roll bar that I've just taken off. So I knew that was missing, but I couldn't find it, and that's where it was. Anyway, I'll show you what I mean by the subframe hitting now. Yeah, like that, basically. If you can imagine, once the load is on here, that is going to be sat on the arch there, which is why you put a big spacer underneath here with some extended bolts, and that brings that arm back like down here basically, so it's not up here like this. It will be like that, and you'll get the clearance there, and then the suspension will work again, because at the minute that's going to be rock solid and the car's literally not going to move on the front, and it's going to drive terrible. So yeah, we need to fix that ASAP if we want to get it any lower. Obviously you can probably see here that the chassis rails are actually a little bit lower than this, so this is a success. We just need the last little bits to make it perfect. So next day, obviously, I've raised it up on the front 45 mil. Yeah, it looks good, but obviously the front needs to come down. I did scrape the exhaust on the floor just a second ago, so it is quite low, but I think it looks cool. That noise you can hear at the front is the power steering pump, because we've got no power steering still. Because we're waiting for a seal and it's coming from the other side of the world. Rattly. How much clearance have we got on the subframe? Loads of clearance. Very low. So I've just driven that, and the anti-roll bar in the rear is literally pretty much on the floor, and the chassis rails are hitting the floor as well because it's low. It's very, very low, but it doesn't look that low. Interesting. Obviously the subframe doesn't hit now, but it's just the chassis rails that hit first. Albeit the roads around here are dreadful. Matt's dropped it off with no fuel in it, as per usual. So you put your foot down, it's like misfiring because it's literally got gas and air. So I need to put some fuel in it and probably raise it up. It is literally on the floor, but it doesn't even look low. In my opinion, anyway. I think it looks good, but it doesn't look low. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, subframe rise, we're mint. We're absolutely mint. But the rest of it, however, not mint. This is, it's not been quite happy at this height, which is such a shame because it doesn't look low. But yeah, subframe success. That's such a shame because I thought, oh, it's gonna be sweet now, it's gonna be low the clearance. No, it's just one of those cars that don't look low, even after all the work you've done to it. It's what it is. If you look here, that's the subframe, and then the anti-roll bar is about as high as a Jubilee clip off the ground. So I'm gonna take that off because that is on the floor. Anti-roll bar is off. you can see here that it was just on the floor the entire time. I literally only did a mile. So yeah, that took a beating. There's a couple of rattles on the back that I need to sort out, which I'll show you. When the car lowers, this bracket, the excess of the exhaust hanger, that is hitting the caliper. I knew I heard a rattle there, and yeah, that's what's happening. So I'm just going to cut the ear off of this so it doesn't hit the caliper. And yeah, put a tack on that exhaust hanger because it's broken. And yeah, hopefully that is better at the rear at least, and we can leave the rear at the same height. Adjust the front so we can have a little bit more clearance before we put the air cups on at a later date. And yeah, we'll get it going. Right, raise the front up a touch more. The chassis rails are on the floor, so we're gonna have a bit of clearance on there. Took the anti-roll bar off the back, fixed the exhaust, all the other little niggly bits. I'm gonna go for a drive now. I had to put some fuel in it because Matt leaves cars with no fuel, drops them off at my place so they're barely running because he's an idiot. But yeah, I'm quite upset with this. That is so annoying, like all that work and then to have to run it like this is so annoying. But obviously this is a car that I don't think anyone in the UK has ever like lowered a car. One of these, at least, there's not many of these in the UK at all. There's probably about a handful of them in the UK. So I know what it needs. It needs a bit of camber on the front, top mount, elongate the bracket for the coilover because there's no elongation at all from factory on the HSTs. It's literally a through bolt. There's no movement on there. And then extend the lower control arm like 15 mil, and then it will look exactly the same as the rear, camber wise. And then it'll close that front gap up, and then when it gets 14s, we'll get a 175/60 14, which is 10 mil higher radius, so it'll be 5 mil closer to the top of the arch, and all that jiggery pokery should make it sit just how it needs to sit, just enough to be acceptable, but it'll still be low. It will still be low, but we've done the groundwork now. Unless we cut the chassis rails in half, I don't think it's ever going to be as low as Matt really wants it, and I don't think he wants to cut the chassis rails in half. Maybe he does, I don't know. We'll see, but I'm going to go for a drive now, and I'll let you know. Come back. Go out and come back. You'll tell me how much you hate it. Power steering going everywhere. It does look good. Too low. Too low. Misfiring. Broken. That was. It's broken. And we're caught up. So this car is back on the ramp. We're in the future. Sierra's clean. Ami's over there. Basically, subframe, good. Rest of it around the front, not so good. So it's back on there now. I did say we're going to do air cups in the future, but Matt's literally just changed his mind and decided I should do them now. So here they are. These are actually the exact air cups that came off his R32. So if you wanted to see a video of us installing this on the R32 earlier on in the year, I'll put a picture up here. But yeah, these air cups are going on the Skyline here, the R30. And then we got adjustable top mounts. We got some roll centers on the way, which I'll put a picture up here. So yeah, I get to finish the stance on the R30 so I don't push out the workshop and it's arse end down. Thank God for that. I wish we was doing the air cups the first time around so Matt wouldn't make me take the coilovers out 4 times in a row. But we move. We're actually going to put paddle valves on the air cups this time so we can use the air cups in their midway range. And that way we can sort of like get this car aired out and then drive it like 15-20 mil higher than it actually is. That will make the drivability of this thing very good. And basically the subframe raise wouldn't be a waste of time. Well, it's not a waste of time anyway because it goes lower now, but should be good. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, because there's a lot of people that watch the videos that haven't subscribed. Thank you for that. And yeah, see you later. Cheers.